Last episode, we talked about passphrases. The line was simple. A passphrase protects by adding another secret. It fails by becoming an unrepeatable secret. Today we move to the device most beginners hear about right after seed phrases, the hardware wallet. The beginner mistake is thinking the device is magic. It is not. A hardware wallet is better understood as a signing device. That phrase matters. The device does not hold the Bitcoin inside it like a tiny vault. Bitcoin lives on the ledger. The device holds or protects keys that can authorize spending. When you spend, the important act is not that the device sends Bitcoin. The important act is that the device signs a transaction. Bitcoin developer documentation describes the workflow in plain terms. A networked wallet prepares transaction details. The hardware wallet shows details on its own screen. The user reviews. The hardware wallet signs. And the networked wallet broadcasts the signed transaction. That is the model. Online wallet prepares. Hardware device reviews and signs. Networked wallet broadcasts. The separation is the point. If your laptop is compromised, the attacker should not automatically get the private keys. That is the benefit. But the device does not remove every human risk. It does not know whether the address on the screen is the address you intended. It does not know whether you copied the right invoice. It does not know whether your backup plan is recoverable. It does not know whether your family can understand the setup. It signs what you approve. So the screen matters. A hardware wallet is not only a key box, it is a final checkpoint. Before signing, the user must review the amount, the address, the fee, and the context. If the device screen shows one thing and the computer shows another, the computer is not the authority. The signing device is the place where the human must slow down. That is the first lesson. Do not just click through the device. The second lesson is that the device is replaceable. This surprises beginners. They buy a hardware wallet and start thinking, my Bitcoin is in this object. That is usually the wrong model. If the recovery setup is correct, the device can be lost, damaged, or replaced, and the wallet can be recovered from the backup material. That does not make loss harmless. It does not make recovery easy. It does not mean you should be casual with devices or backups. It means the device is not the whole custody plan. The recovery phrase, passphrase if used, wallet type, derivation path, multi-sig context, descriptors, and non-secret instructions may all matter depending on setup. The device is one part of the system. The third lesson is that a hardware wallet changes the attack surface. It does not make the attack surface disappear. A hot wallet exposes keys to a general-purpose device connected to the internet. A hardware wallet tries to keep signing authority inside a purpose-built device. That can be a major improvement. Bitcoin.org describes hardware wallets as wallet-only devices designed for high security and ease of use, with backup allowing recovery if the device is lost. But the user can still make mistakes. The supply chain can matter. The firmware can matter. The backup can matter. The passphrase can matter. The receiving address verification can matter. The spending workflow can matter. The legal and family recovery plan can matter. This is why buy a hardware wallet is not a complete plan. It is a tool. Tools need procedures. The fourth lesson is about trust. Hardware wallets reduce some trust in the everyday computer. They do not eliminate all trust from the world. You may still trust device firmware. You may still trust the wallet software to construct the transaction honestly until you verify it. You may still trust your backup process. You may still trust yourself to notice a changed address. You may still trust your family plan to survive confusion. Bitcoin self-custody is not the absence of trust everywhere. It is the discipline of moving trust to places you can inspect, minimize, and practice. That is a more adult model than magic. The fifth lesson is PSBTs. Do not worry about mastering the acronym today. Just understand the shape. Bitcoin Core's external signer documentation explains that interaction with an external signer uses partially signed Bitcoin transactions, or PSBTs. In plain English, the transaction can be prepared without the final signature, sent to a signer, signed, then finalized and broadcast. That is why next episode goes into PSBTs, because if a hardware wallet is a signing device, the natural next question is, what exactly is it being asked to sign? That question is where beginners become safer, not by memorizing every technical field, by knowing that the device is not a magic approval box. It is a place to inspect a transaction before your keys authorize it. So here is the clean beginner model. 1. Your Bitcoin is not stored inside the hardware wallet. The Bitcoin is represented by spendable outputs on the network. 2. The hardware wallet protects signing authority. 3. The networked wallet prepares and broadcasts. 4. The hardware wallet displays and signs. 5. Your backup and recovery plan decide whether the setup survives time. 6. The human still has to verify. That last line is the one people skip. The human still has to verify. Here's where the beginner should slow down. Verification is not one thing. It is several small checks. Are you receiving to an address that belongs to your wallet? Can the device display that receive address? When you spend, does the device show the address you intended? Does the amount match what you meant to send? Does the fee make sense for the situation? Do you understand whether you are spending from a hot wallet, a hardware signer, a multi-sig wallet, or a watch-only wallet? Those questions are not exciting. That is why they are useful. Good custody is mostly boring checks performed at the right moment. Bad custody often looks sophisticated until one boring check was skipped. This is also why device confidence can be dangerous. A beginner buys a hardware wallet, sees the word secure, and relaxes. But the device cannot read your mind. It cannot know whether the address you pasted was swapped by malware unless you compare it. It cannot know whether the backup phrase was written correctly unless you verify recovery. It cannot know whether a passphrase exists in your plan unless the plan says so. It cannot know whether a future family member will understand why this device matters. The device improves one part of the system. It does not bless the entire system. That is the difference between a tool and a talisman. A tool works when used correctly. A talisman makes you feel protected without changing behavior. Bitcoin self-custody needs fewer talismans and more procedures. The procedure does not have to be complicated. In fact, it should be as simple as the real risk allows. But it does have to exist. What is the device for? What wallet software talks to it? What backup restores it? What non-secret notes explain the setup? What should be checked on the screen before signing? What should never be typed into a website? What happens if the device is lost? What happens if the computer is compromised? What happens if the owner is unavailable? Those are custody questions, not gadget questions. The hardware wallet is one answer inside the plan. It is not the plan. That is why the title says signing devices are not magic. Magic asks you to believe. Bitcoin asks you to verify. There is one more subtle point. A hardware wallet is often marketed as cold storage. That phrase can be useful, but it can also blur two different ideas. Cold usually means the signing keys are kept away from ordinary internet exposure. Storage makes people imagine coins sitting inside a device. So beginners hear cold storage and picture a sealed box. The better picture is a controlled signing process. The device is not a treasure chest. It is a specialized approval machine. That machine should be hard to extract keys from. It should make transaction review clearer. It should reduce dependence on a general-purpose computer. But it still needs a backup plan. It still needs address verification. It still needs recovery practice. It still needs a human who knows the difference between the device, the wallet file, the seed phrase, a passphrase, and the transaction being signed. This is why beginners should resist the product comparison rabbit hole at first. Which device is best? Which brand? Which chip? Which firmware? Which screen? Those questions can matter. But the first question is simpler. Do I understand what job this object performs? If the answer is no, buying a better object will not fix the model. It may only create more confidence than the user has earned. The goal is not fear. The goal is competence. Competence means knowing that the device signs, the software coordinates, the network validates, and the backup recovers. 4 jobs, 4 failure modes, 1 custody plan. A hardware wallet can protect keys from a compromised computer. It cannot protect you from approving the wrong transaction if you never read the screen. It cannot protect your errors from a recovery plan nobody understands. It cannot protect a passphrase nobody can reproduce. It cannot protect a backup that was never checked. It cannot protect against every supply chain, firmware, or user interface risk. The device matters. The procedure matters more. And the procedure must be boring enough to repeat. That is the mature self-custody lesson. Not buy the object and feel safe. Understand the role of the object. The object signs. You verify. The backup recovers. The plan survives. If any of those pieces is missing, the hardware wallet may still be excellent, but the custody system is weak. So yes, hardware wallets matter. They are one of the most important tools in Bitcoin self-custody. But signing devices are not magic. They are checkpoints. Use them like checkpoints. Next episode, we go into PSBTs, the partially signed transaction your hardware wallet is actually being asked to approve. Educational only. Not financial, tax, legal, security, privacy, or estate planning advice.